Hey guys, we just got back from the 2015 Solo Nationals, and I just wanted to share a little bit about the trip, the experience, of course the autocrossing, and the Curtis Lee Memorial Grant, and the Memorial event, which are both upcoming. It's just an amazing experience. We had 1,226 drivers this year, the most they've ever had at Autocross Nationals. And according to some of the emails they're sending to us before the event, it was the largest car race in the world by the number of drivers. It's just massive. They had 90 acres in Lincoln, Nebraska on that concrete airfield. And that was just the test and tune course, the west and east course in the paddock. It is just huge. They weren't kidding when said we would need a golf cart to get around. It is just massive. And I also wanted to show you some pictures of the cars. I'll have an album up on Flickr later when I get them all sorted out, but you can check that out as we're going here. Anyway, when we arrived, they had the Pro Solo finale, and Pro Solo, it's a tour. It is autocross, but it's something we don't have in Hawaii, so it was the first time I got to see it, and it was the finale, so it was the final brackets, and all top competitors and top times. What Pro Solo is it's kind of like drag bracket racing. They have a burnout box, they have a Christmas tree, and you can break out, you can red light. They give you 60-foot times off your launch. It's kind of a drag racing launch. And that takes you into about a 30 or 35 second autocross course. And they're mirrored courses, a left and a right, and you come in and flip lanes after that. And of course you could red light and get bumped out of your bracket. You could just be eliminated as times go on in the rounds as the day proceeds. But that was amazing to see. And it was actually CAM class running, so it was quite loud and proud. And we get to see some national champions crowned. So that was right off the bat when we got there. Really gets your blood going. And it was just amazing to see. The second day, Monday, we were able to get registered, and they got the course set. And that was the first time we got to see the course. So we got the course maps a few days prior to our arrival, not as early as some of the previous years. And these courses, they're about a mile long each, and so many cones. There are a ton of cones out there. So that was really exciting on Monday when they finally had the courses set and chalked in, and they opened them for walking. We were able to get some walks in, which take about a half an hour each to walk at a speed you can get your line down. So that was just really eye-opening. It was quite the experience. I kind of questioned if I still know how to autocross about 10 minutes into that. But we got walks on both courses, and felt pretty good about the lines we thought we were going to drive. And then we were able to get through the registration and tech process for some of us that already had our cars there, and get to go around the paddock. Everyone's cars are arriving. Car carriers are coming in with elevators in them, and all kinds of crazy things coming out. The mod classes, the Formula Fords and Formula Vs, just things we don't have in Hawaii, and you just see plenty of them. Everyone's well represented there, and it was just crazy. The paddock itself is about 16 rows. And the rows are about 4 times as long as our grid rows, or our paddock side. Just to give you an idea, it takes a good 10 minutes to just walk across the paddock itself. Then we had some bad weather that night, so the whole air park went underwater. That was a little discouraging because Corey was up for running the West Technical course in the morning. But we got some course walks in slippers, of course. It was a little cold and miserable, and there was, of course, lightning and thunder and a hail warning and all that good stuff just to welcome us to Nebraska. But we got down there in the morning, and it was just a light rain in the morning, and it was a little damp and cold. But we got a couple more walks in with Corey on the technical west side, and out they went. And He got a drier run toward the end. I think his co-drive had a little bit of a drier run, but it was kind of drying up after the first heat. And it was just good to see people driving the course, see what lines they're taking, what cones they're hitting, and what's working and what's not. So that was the first time we got to see people run the course. That was really exciting. And as that day ended, of course, we had bad weather again after that sunny, hot day or sunny hot afternoon, and the whole air park went under about 2 inches of water yet again. Quite the experience. More course walks, again, predominantly in slippers, oddly enough. The next morning it got really exciting. Corey had to run the other course, and fortunately he was able to get some sunny and dry runs in. And it was test and tune time for me and Joey, which is a complete separate course from the courses we're scoring times on, their west and east course. Now, their test and tune course is about the size of what we run in Hawaii. A little more cone spacing. They didn't throw that many cones out, so there were some high-speed sections. I was driving a 2004 Subaru STI, and the fellow had a 100 octane map in there, and he was boost creeping up to about 18 psi. So third gear was a little wild, but it is something I got to experience on the test and tune course, and it wasn't that many runs, but that time was really, really valuable. I was also feeling out the RE71 tires. It's a great tire. Doesn't quite make as much noise as the Hankook I typically run on here at home. Has more grip ultimately, but it was a little different on the edge of the tire, and of course the all-wheel drive car versus the rear-wheel drive truck. Quite the eye-opening experience. Also running on concrete, it was a lot different than pavement, the way it behaves. So confidence was pretty high after the test and tune day, and the weather was holding up pretty well. So that was definitely a high point in the middle of it there. And out we go. Onwards to Thursday. It was my first day of driving, and I was up on the East course for Heat 3. I also had to work an hour and a half in the morning, and I think I worked for A Street, B Street, and STF. STF was oddly spinning out a little more than some of the Corvettes in the other classes, but they were driving tighter lines, and they're driving a little more aggressively. The Corvettes were accelerating out of corners a little more. So it was really good to see the sweep turn where I was working in position 2. It's really good to see the lines they were taking and which cones were getting hit. After that, CP was running, and I got to watch the entire course, not just the corner I was working at, and just see what lines they were driving. And CP is just a heck of a heat. It's really lightweight, gutted out American muscle cars. Just a ton of power, and a lot of tire under them. Also a really loud class. And as with CP tradition, something always happens. Firebird lost its tire into the crowd. Numerous other cars were braking and leaking fluid, and just all kinds of mayhem that goes along with CP. After they ran, there was a 30-minute lunch, and I was able to get one more course walk in right before I ran. I think that brought me up to about 11 walks on the East course, and I tell you what, you really need them all. Also, the course was really sticky by that point. CP had put down a lot of rubber. Your shoes, they physically stick to the ground. There's just so much rubber on the course by that third day of running. For some other people, the course had been run on for 3 days now, and that OPR, that other people's rubber, becomes really apparent by then. They send a street sweeper out at night, so you kind of start out fresh in the morning. But even after 2 heats, a lot of it was the tar from the seams. That air park is it's concrete, and it's made in about 25-foot blocks, and every 25 feet there's a seam. And that tar comes up, it sticks to people's tires, it gets flung off, and there's just disintegrated tire on the wider lines in some of the turns, and just the amount of rubber that CP put down on the course. We were walking around just sticking to the course. That was a pretty wild experience. So I got that, I think, 11th walk in on the East right before I ran, so confidence was pretty high. I knew it was going to be a fast course. It was going to be third gear, no fear, all the way. And off we went. It went pretty well. The first part was just kind of wiggling down to a sweeping turn, so that didn't feel very very unfamiliar. After that, the course is pretty much predominantly third gear. Overall, I think that course was third gear probably more than half the time. And for SDU, it was running about 55 to 60 seconds. I think I ran a 58 something. Oddly enough, I think my first run was my fastest by 0.1. I didn't know what to fear. I just went for it on the first one, and I think I ended up standing on that run. That East course gave me a lot of confidence for the second day because the West course is a lot more technical, a lot closer to what we run in Hawaii, but also a lot longer. It was a lot longer time-wise than the East course, and just seemed to have a lot more cones. Like the cone spacing between elements was filled in with other cones. But based on the few walks I had on the West course, it seemed like that would be the more familiar course for me. So I was kind of glad to have the East course out of the way and all the high-speed sections. Felt a lot of relief that I was able to keep that Subaru under control in third gear. It had quite a bit of boost and torque. So after competition wrapped up for the day, the course is open for walking again, and they're actually open all night if you want. And some bad weather rolled in yet again. I think this is the worst of it as far as heavy rain while we were there at the air park. Air park immediately went under about 2 inches of water, and I was trying to get a couple more walks in. I'd only had about 5 walks on the West course at that time, and out there again, yet again in slippers. I think I blew up my umbrella in the first 10 minutes out there, and it was just terrible. I did get 2 more walks in, and I was a little bit worried about the weather for the next day. They were claiming for sunny skies, but who knows? It changes every 5 minutes up there. And I think that brought me up to 7 walks on the West course. Just again, a lot of cones on the West course. A lot more to remember, it seems. It doesn't seem as straightforward. But the top of second gear, a little closer to what we run here in Hawaii, and felt like it would be a little bit more familiar. A little bit more to mess up too. You had to stay in rhythm. It had a lot of slaloms on it, and was quite the technical course. So onwards to the next morning. Of course, I'm up to drive west that day, and I think I worked the same heats again for about an hour and a half in the morning. And it was a cold morning. It did turn out to be sunny, fortunately, but first heat ran at about 52 degrees. And the tires are cold. They weren't coming up to temperature that quickly or that well. And there were tons of spins and slides. And some of those slalom cones are getting punished. Some of those cones weren't even orange anymore. There was a couple slalom cones that kept getting hit where I was working, where the cones are just black. After 4 days of people running and just hitting the same cone, the cone was actually sticky. There's just so much rubber on it. That was quite eye-opening. So again, I got to walk after CP, and we were up to run at about noon. The temperature came up to about 58 degrees. So I think we had a little more heat in the tire, but it still wasn't what we had on the East course. I don't think we sprayed the tires at all. We might have sprayed 1 tire that day with the 2-driver car, but the tires didn't have as much heat, and the start was a little bit different on the West. On the West, we had a start at the flagman and a 90-degree turn before you got to the timing lights that start your run, and that was pretty crazy. I had actually seen somebody the day before spin out before their time even started. It was an E-Mod Mustang, and he spun before the timing lights, and then he had to go from a stop and start his time that way. So that was a pretty technical start. You didn't want to launch the car as hard because you'd run a wide line and mess that up, and you're already in second gear when your time started. So it was a pretty wild start. It had a turn immediately after the start in second gear, a big right-hander, and that led you right into slalom. So you had to be extremely accurate right off the bat. The West course was just crazy. If you got out of rhythm on those slaloms or got wide on one of the sweepers, you would be spitting cones out in a hurry. The course seemed to go by pretty. If you've joined us in the last few years, I just want to share who Curtis Lee is, and why we have the memorial event every year, and why we have the grant. Curtis Lee is the driving force behind SCCA Hawaii. He was our solo chair for many, many years, also our course designer, and he was just a top competitor out here in the Hawaii region. He was frequently at the top of the packs, often posted the fastest time of the day, and he would make the trip up to nationals pretty much every year and co-drive and race up there. This is also Jen's dad and Amy's husband, our other 240 Datsun Z drivers. And he passed away in 2010. He definitely left us too soon, but he's not gone or not forgotten. We have the memorial events every year, and that's also why we have the grant. The grant helps send somebody up to nationals every year and compete like Curtis did. So that helps somebody from Hawaii get up there and helps keep our presence for our region up there at nationals every year. So the recipient for the grant will be announced at that Curtis Lee Memorial event in October. You'll also get to have lunch with the whole club, and Curtis's 240Z will be out there, the BSP 71 car, and that'll lead a parade lap for every heat, and that's just the car is immaculate. It's just an amazing car, so you get to see that there, and it's just a great event with the club, and it runs a little bit different than our other ones, so it's definitely something you want to come stay the whole day and check out. And as far as the grant goes, the grant is open to apply for until our next event, until September 27th. If you're coming out here season after season, race after race, and you're always doing our Evo schools and our test and tunes, you must love autocross like we do, and you should apply. This is an experience you'll never forget. It's the pinnacle of autocross. It's just autocross on steroids with the 1 mile courses and 10 times the amount of competitors, and just the scope of it, just the 90 acres dedicated to autocross out there. It'll just blow your mind. It's definitely something I'm going to go back and compete in, and the grant's a great program. It really helps somebody from Hawaii get up there every. I hope you guys apply, and we can only have one recipient a year, so if you've applied before, please apply again, and just check it out. It's just an amazing experience. It's something else I'll be back to race in for sure.